Good afternoon, and welcome to the Truth Report. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Yes, we all forgot to wear green, but we don't talk about that. This is the show that is green, where we don't do political correctness, where we don't do spin, and we sure as hell don't do boring. I'm your host, the Heartbreak Kid of Truth Report himself, P. And today, we will be diving into three mainly explosive stories that have South Africa and the entire world watching. Iran's embassy in South Africa just posted something on X that has people furious. The US ambassador to South Africa told businesses that America is losing its patience with the ANC. And then the media claimed that dude was backtracking. Was he? Was it fake news? We'll find out today. And in Cape Town, a Quds Day rally featured something that should disturb every single parent in this country. Children were holding weapons and military gear in the streets. So if you're seeing what I'm seeing, you'll see that we've got a panel ready to fight. I'm not alone. The takes will be hot, arguments will be fierce, and nobody's leaving here without saying nothing because they've already been trapped. Gentlemen, we are already live, so there's no use hanging up now. This is the Truth Report. Let's get into it. Today, I am joined by Martin van Staden of the Free Market Foundation. I'm joined by Andre Farrow of the Common Sense, and I am joined by DA representative and YouTuber Kuhle Maseko. Gentlemen, thank you all for joining this convo.
How is it, Sama? Good to be here.
Sama, your intro.
What an intro. Yeah, it's another level, eh? It's like
you introduce us as if we're wrestlers.
Exactly. That's why I'm wearing like Paul Heyman. Yeah, I've got the Paul Heyman outfit. Well, gentlemen, let's start with the X post that sparked outrage, right? Let's go into it without further ado because the people are waiting. If you know where to watch us, you can watch us on X, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook. We are live everywhere and all socials. Just make sure to tune in and join our WhatsApp channel. Gentlemen, recently the Iran embassy in South Africa posted a very controversial X post saying the only way the US will get through the Strait of Hormuz, which is the 80-kilometer oil place within that territory, is by placing American flag-covered coffins through it. Basically, a huge metaphor saying the only way the Americans could get through it is if they died and their bodies were put in there. Some say it's inappropriate. Others say it was nothing but free speech. The embassy represents a country that South Africa's diplomatic relations with. That's a bottom line. A country that just got bombed by the United States and Israel that has vowed revenge. That is the country called Iran. So let's talk about it. We'll start with Kuhle Maseko. So Iran's embassy posts inflammatory content on South African soil. Why should we allow a foreign government to use our country as a platform for their propaganda? Should we or should we not? And whatever your answer is and why. Just a quick 1-minute breakdown.
Well, firstly, Sama, thank you for starting with me. You know, it shows that BE is still a real thing. But you know,
amen, brother. Amen.
Be that as it may, I don't think we should be shocked that Iran is posting in South Africa. Firstly, there's an internet blackout in Iran, so they wouldn't be able to get the message out from the head office. Let's just be quite frank. So they did it from the one place where they knew they've got the useful idiots, and that being the ANC. They posted coffins, and I'm very interested to see what Durko is going to say here, because after they made the Israeli Charge to South Africa march off a couple of weeks ago, and mind you, it was not the Israeli Charge that was actually in meetings. It was their head from their own foreign affairs department in Israel that had come to South Africa, who had actually been in those meetings. But the guy that faced the brunt was actually the Israel Charge. Now, you ask yourself, because this comes out from the man himself, the Iranian ambassador to South Africa, what is Ronald Lamula, what is Clement, the DDG, going to say about this? I can tell you what they are going to say. I can tell you for free. Do you want to know what the answer is? Do you want to know?
Please do. Yes, sir.
We stand in solidarity with the people of Iran. Why? Meanwhile, 3 weeks ago, actually a month ago, the people of Iran were dying. Where was the solidarity? Where was the solidarity? The solidarity only comes when Ramaphosa's BFF, Ayatollah Khamenei, is somewhere in some heaven with 72 versions, according to his version of heaven. Thanks.
And thanks for that input, brother. But just to quickly cut through this situation, because we've got quite a number of topics we need to go through. Martin van Staden, you're quite an educated man from what I've seen in your resume. Iran has been chanting death to America and is targeting its civilians. South Africa is supposedly neutral, right? We like telling everybody now we're not in the blue corner, we're not in the red corner, we're in the middle, right? We're like Summer Sambit, we got the blue blazer and the red tie. So how on earth is letting their embassy stir up anti-Western sentiment here being neutral? Are they being neutral? Yes or no? And tell us why.
No, I mean, obviously South Africa is not neutral. And I mean, we've seen this since, I mean, the Lady R incident with Russia. Supposedly South Africa is also neutral in the war between Russia and Ukraine. And it's the same old story, but it's always South Africa being on the side of the, let's call it the third worldist kind of BRICS alliance thing in the world. And while our constitution is filled with these Western values, we always pick the worst side to be on. So obviously this is just another manifestation of that. And I mean, we need to be realists. We need to understand that this is the case, and the South African government will not condemn the Iranians for what they said. Obviously they won't. I mean, ideally, you would say that there has to be one rule for both, because the Israeli embassy was also very spicy in its content, and I loved it. It was very, very good. But they were now punished for that, and by any kind of good standard of the diplomatic decorum, you would apply that standard to everyone, or you would say that no one should get too spicy. We'll punish everyone, or everyone will can say what they want. But that we don't do that shows that we're not non-aligned. We are aligned. We are aligned with Iran. We are aligned specifically with the Islamic regime in Iran against the people of Iran, very much against the people of Iran. As Kukle was saying, tens of thousands of Iranian civilians were gunned down, and that's just the most recent injustice. Over decades, women in Iran have been treated like absolute filth, and we have our Minister of Women, Children, and People with Disabilities celebrating the Iranian Revolution quite recently. So, yeah, we are in the grip of useful idiots. I think that's the correct thing to say. But they're also evil, and we shouldn't let that slide. This is pure evil.
And Martin, you mentioned something very important there. I know there's viewers who don't know what happened. The Lady R incident. There's someone watching this right now going, what the hell is the Lady R incident?
Sure.
Why was it called Lady R? Could you just give us a quick brief on what that is, so that they don't start saying Truth Report is saying things here?
Yeah. So a few months after the Russian-Ukrainian war began, after Russia invaded Ukraine, a Russian flagged ship arrived in Simonstown, at the Simonstown naval base. And I mean, it's a military base. We didn't know what was onboarded or offloaded, but effectively there was the American ambassador at the time, who was a Biden administration ambassador. People like to forget this. They think that, oh, it's just Trump. We have to bide our time. When he leaves, it's fine. Then the Americans will be our friends again. No. The Americans, the Biden administration, was also quite pissed with South Africa, because their ambassador accused South Africa at the time that South Africa is effectively supporting the Russian war effort, and that passes the sniff test in my view. South Africa is very keen on Russia, and I mean, let's be honest. We have these reports of MK people going to that war, and it's like, it's never that they end up on the Ukrainian side of that war. So by some coincidence, I mean some God-given coincidence, they're always on the Russian side. So I think it's clear that between the radical left wing of our political spectrum and the Russian Federation, there is a close relationship. So that was the Lady R incident. The government, of course, denied it. They said we're non-aligned. Nothing untoward happened. And it's kind of been it's gone quiet, but it did show that there is a continuing military relationship between Russia and South Africa. And these exercises that we did recently, the Russians were there, the Chinese were there, the Iranians were there. So yeah, it's all a big pretense where the South African government has the let's say the foresight to understand that the United States is an important trade partner and that we have close relations with the US. So they can't afford to completely destroy the relationship in one fell swoop. They know that. But they also have these ideological allies, Russia, Iran, China, that they also need to kind of keep on side. So we're playing this game, this gaslighting game where the South African public is being lied to say that, no, we're not aligned, we're friends with everyone. But actually, where the rubber hits the road, South Africa is very much aligned with the tyrannical regimes of the world against the liberal democracies.
Yeah, thanks for that, man. I just needed us to refresh our memories there because there were individuals who are not aware of the Lady R incident thinking we're just being heavily biased. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, we're not being heavily biased. We're just stating facts. That's what Truth Report is about. We're stating facts. It's a fact that South Africa seems to be more aligned with Iran, despite the fact that they keep telling us they're centrally aligned. I think, gentlemen, everyone in this panel, what we can agree with is no matter which political party you are, no matter who you may be or what you represent, if you want to be neutral, the last thing you're going to want to do is convince the majority of a nation that you're clearly aligned with someone. Andre Farrell from The Common Sense, let's be honest, if Israel's embassy posted something equally as provocative, everybody would be screaming for it to be shut down. Why the double standard? And should foreign embassies in South Africa have the right to post whatever they want on social media, or should there be limits? Tell us your answer and why.
Well, the thing is, with embassies, they're representing their country in another country. It's their job to have that diplomatic conversations. They kind of like the voice for the government that they work for. And so what the Iranian government just did, or the Iranian embassy just did there, that was literally how do I say it, a smack in the face to all South Africans. Because for me as a South African, I see this on my X feed and I'm thinking, who the hell are you to push your propaganda in my country? Like, really, who are you? Your ass should be kicked out of my country because this is unacceptable. This is clearly you pushing your narrative. And then you have the American embassy on Buzz News share their 5 topics of how important it is for South Africa to have this good relationship with America. And the whole on the left and mainstream media and the government is throwing tantrums because he just stated the facts that killing a farmer is crossing the line. And he's just stating, it's common sense, guys. It's common sense. It's hate speech. But then the Iranian embassy does something as well, and it's stoop still, quiet. Double standard, guys. No, we don't. Listen here. We all know the history with Iran and South Africa. Nelson Mandela went to America and they asked him a question, will you be okay if Fidel Castro has to be your leader, has to lead South Africa? And Nelson Mandela, in a cheeky way, sat back and he said, listen here, just because it's your enemy, it's not our enemy. And I'm thinking to myself, wait, hold up. So for 47 years, the South African government would close their eyes, take the bribes from Iran and say, you know what, we don't care. But let Israel, Donald Trump, or a white man say something about this government. All hell breaks loose. Everybody's screaming on the left, racism, racism, homophobic, Islamophobic, every phobic you want on planet Earth, they would be screaming. And then you think we should sit back and be like, no, this is all a propaganda machine. The mere fact that they can't do it in their own country, they sit in their own country, there's blackouts. The people cannot use internet so that the world can actually see what's happening there. And then they come on South African. As a South African, I'll be like, how dare you? How dare you? But you know what? And I agree with what Rob said. The South African government, the ANC, they do not have a spine. They cannot stand because the only thing that's holding them up is the strings of Iran's Islamic regime controlling them like the puppet master. And everybody thinks that this regime is doing a good thing. It is not. People have common sense, please. Like, open your eyes. These people are lying to you. They lie to you every single day on social media. The other day, they lied about the refugees that went to America. And South Africans are like, you see, he failed. Guys, Open your mind. You guys are such a bunch of you are so programmed by the system of this country that everything that you see on social media you believe. And you know what, Sama, my irritation is this, that people think it's the truth, man. People believe it's the truth. Excuse me, the Iranian embassy put on their social media, and apparently they pulled it back. They pulled it back. Where's the South African government coming out like this? It's saying, guys, diplomatic has crossed the boundary of diplomat. Like, hello, Amal is a bunch of hypocrites. You all are a bunch of puppets. You take the money from a regime that's killing their own people for decades. And I agree with what Martin said just recently, a few weeks ago. They opened fire on their own people. And where was South African government calling that out? Where was this one or that one on social media calling it out? No, Amal Chup still. As soon as their leader got wiped out by Donald Trump, then they send out condolences. So South African government is a bunch of hypocrites. I will never take them serious. I would look at them and say, you're a bloody puppet. You are controlled by a country that is in our country right now and posting their propaganda from our soil. And as a South African, you should be offended. You should take that as a slap in your face, because it just shows us once again, South Africans are not leading this country. South Africans are not in charge of this country. We have a bunch of people that are leaders that are corrupt and evil and wicked. The mere fact that they are literally taking part in other people's sin, they are taking part in it by playing, no, guys, condolences to the Islamic regime. It's so sad. And then not just that, this Iran embassy post literally what Nelson Mandela said, and said, you cannot tell us who our friends are. Yo, I don't know about you guys, but I grew up when my parents said to me, if your friends jump into a fire, would you do the exact same thing? Would you also go jump into a fire? And if you said yes, they'll look at you like, is he stupid? This is what the ANC party and the South African government is doing. They are jumping into the exact same fire because for 47 years, they've been taking money from this regime, closing their eyes to what's happening in that country, and just play the moral high ground game. No, but guys, we are neutral. No, you're not. You keep taking the people's money.
And not to cut you off, Andre, not to cut you off there, I just wanted to cover these main points down so that we don't lose time here. I can see our comment section is running wild there. You mentioned fantastically, I think you think the South African government is a bunch of hypocrites because they'll say something on one thing but not do it when it inconveniences them. Somebody here said something very important in the comment section. I don't know why I've lost it, but I'm going to scroll up now. Mercia Vestrat just said, Iran sends women and children to jail, beats them, tortures them when their hair is not completely behind their hijab. For those of you who don't know those cases, ladies and gentlemen, there have been recent cases in Iran where women have been endlessly tortured and punished very gravely, maybe even more than they should have, for not wearing their hijab. So they were disobeying a religious law, and because of that, they were severely punished for it. Now, she is saying, yet the ANC supports what Iran is doing. But we are the ones who will be the first ones to say we are against gender-based violence. Obviously, this goes back to what Andre Ferro said. It clearly shows that we have double standards. It's very evident that when Israel or the United States does something, we'll be the first to step in. We'll take them to the ICJ. We'll talk about freeing Palestine. We'll rip off the little hats from all the Jewish kids in UCT. But when Iran sends their women to jail, beats them, tortures them, like what Marcia says, when their hair is not completely behind their hijab, all of a sudden it's not GBV, because now we don't want to upset the people that could be, like you mentioned, Andre, funding us. Now, Martin, I need you to answer this for me. Kutle is back. Okay. I was worried you weren't back there, sir. Okay, I'll ask you this question and then I'll throw another one to Martin. Kutle, should the South African government respond to this post? Yes, no, why?
Firstly, Sama, thank you so much. The South African government, we should really distinguish, right? There is the ANC, then there is the government. The problem is the ANC think they're government by themselves, and this is evident when you see parties like the Democratic Alliance or
Yeah.
VF Plus coming out and opposing what the ANC is doing. Hence, I think it's very important that we distinguish between the two. But the ANC, because they are exactly what they are, which is ass lickers, they will not come out and oppose what Iran is doing. They won't, because they want the check to come in. They want to cash in the check at the end of the month. So I just need to be very clear. The ANC is obviously one of the beneficiaries of Iran's funding. And the reason I keep looking down is because I want to actually share something with you. So here is, if you could perhaps zoom into my phone. But
okay.
So
and could you tell us who those two individuals are, just for more clarity?
So on your right, or is that my right? On my right,
yeah,
what you can see there is the Iranian ambassador to South Africa standing with the mayor of eThekwini. And here they were signing some tender deal or whatever deal it had to do, some Iranian company doing some business in the city of eThekwini. And before you just zoom out again, I want to just show you more. The Iranian embassy. This is an official letter from the Iranian embassy, which was sent to an Action SA MMC in the city of Tshwane to request for land or for state-owned property. And many don't know that this Action SA MMC was willing to give the city hall to the Iranian ambassador for them to build a cultural center in the city of Tshwane. Now,
gosh, okay, so Kuhle, not to stop there. Sorry to stop you there. So you're actually saying it is true that Iran was actually advocating for the building of something of that sort within the city of Tshwane?
Yes. I can read the letter for you, just the headline. I won't read the full thing. It says, subject, motivation for contribution of building or land for an Iranian cultural complex in Tshwane. And it reads, Dear MMC, Ms. Kolufelo Morodi, who is an Action SA MMC. Hence, I'm very clear in saying that we've got to get these thugs out of government. We will not get peace for as long as we've got these thugs that are controlling the levers of power. When you've got ANC and its babies like Auction SA who are willing to give state-owned property to foreign tyrants like Iran, there is no progress for this country. The bottom line is South Africa is aligning with a regime that doesn't believe in women's rights. It's aligning in a regime. And by the way, to this loony left crowd, because the loony left crowd has got a base in it, which is the LGBTQI, and I've got no hate against them. But that base particularly loves to speak about Palestine and Iran. And I want to be very clear that in those countries, they would be willing to stone you today. They wouldn't they wouldn't bet an eyelid. They would be willing to stone you. You have to be pro-life, pro-Western values. It's the same Western values where you and I are allowed to live and share different ideas. The bottom line is the ANC and its babies are flirting with autocratic regimes. They're flirting with regimes that are going to cause a lot of harm. And we need to be very wary. Last year, we had some crazy guy from eThekwini who wanted to start a Sharia law party or Sharia, however it's pronounced, law party, if you remember. You also had Al-Jamaa who wanted to say we who went to Israel should be arrested. Please tell me.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that.
Of the Islamification of the state.
And thanks for that, brother. And gentlemen, just notice each and every time you give your answers within the live stream, when I cut you off, it's not me like trying to act like an SABC reporter, not even allowing you to finish your answer. No, it's because when I keep looking to it's because when I keep looking to at the time, it's moving. And we only have an hour. So I'm just trying to get everyone to give as much of their 2 cents as possible. So when I cut you off, gentlemen, I mean no disrespect. All your answers are greatly valued. I just want more time to be used more flexibly here. So Martin van Staden, everybody is saying, yeah, the foreign minister should have done this. SA government should have done this. We should have not allowed this. If you were the foreign minister right now, if you were appointed as foreign minister right now, what would you do? Just give us a quick rundown, then we'll move on to the next story for those waiting.
Geez, no one's going to be happy with my answer, Sama. I would immediately expel the diplomatic representatives of the whole tyrannical world. That is Iran, North Korea, China, Russia. They will all be gone. They'll have 72 hours to leave. I will immediately implement every single, I would advise Cabinet to implement every single one of those recommendations that the Trump administration has made to South Africa, which are just normal kind of everyday good policy. It's not an imperialist project by the US. These are just good ideas. I would immediately recommend that we do that and restore a very, very healthy military relationship with the United States and with Israel, of course, and ensure that South Africa takes its rightful place as a leader of the free Western world. Our constitution just screams this. It yells that we are a liberal democracy. We believe in freedom. We believe in individual liberty. We believe in the rule of law. We oppose everything that the ANC's allies around the world believes. So if I were foreign minister, I would make my conduct completely congruent with what I believe the Constitution provides, and that is going to make a lot of people mad, because that's going to mean that we will lose relationships with our historical allies over the last three decades, but it would strengthen our relationship with, I think, with the most important trading partner, the most important economic partner, the most important military partner that we could have, which is the United States. And I'm not saying that as a MAGA pro-Trump person. I have many issues with Donald Trump, but this would apply regardless of administration in the United States. I would want South Africa to take a leading role in Africa as a representative of these values, which we currently simply are not doing. I mean, what we're doing, I just want to reiterate this. It's evil. It is completely evil. Like, there's a guy in the comments now hunting on about white men and apartheid and so on. He's attacking us for being Zionists, and it's like he's defending these regimes like Iran, which has gender apartheid. Like, they beat women. You said this, Salma. They beat women to death for not looking kind of as not even the Quran, but as their religious interpretations of the Quran kind of say. You have to hide your hair and whatever. That is actual apartheid in practice, in action. Like the South African government, when George Floyd was killed in the United States many years ago, our political elite said, solidarity, we stand with Black Americans against this injustice that's being perpetrated against them by their police forces. It's a white supremacist state. There was no whisper of sovereignty then, but now when we say, hey, there's big trouble in Iran and how they treat their people, when we say in Gaza and in the West Bank, if you're homosexual, they kill you. They kill you. As a matter of state policy, they kill you. When we say that's a problem, then these same guys, the guy in the comments, he will come and say, no, it's a sovereign state. We cannot get involved as South African political elite and say these things about them. I mean, it's their rules. They make their own rules. But no, the Americans and the Israelis, they're not allowed to make their own rules. Then the South African government is going to say a bunch of nonsense. So no, I mean, if you're against apartheid, the authoritarianism, the injustice, the inhumanity of apartheid, then you really should be against Iran. You should be against the forces that currently govern kind of the West Bank and in Gaza. So
and thanks for that. Wait, did we cut off from? Looks like he disconnected. Okay, he's back. Okay, no problem there. We can stop there and then we can move on to the next story. Thanks very much for that input. And then for those of you watching from home, truth reporters, truth seekers, I'm asking you this question, the ones watching at home, for us, the panel, to answer you. My question is, what Martin said there, by expelling all tyrannical regimes or all tyrannical regime representatives in South Africa, if he was foreign minister, would you do the same Is South Africa going to be recognized as internationally aligned with Iran? Because we all know deep down we are with Iran, but internationally, which is a fact, South Africa is still seen as neutral. Will South Africa soon be officially recognized by majority countries around the world as aligned with Iran and BRICS as a whole? Type just yes or no in the comment section. We're going to see who said yes by the majority and no, and we'll touch on that matter. While you do that, gentlemen, we're going to move on to our next story. Our next story is very interesting because the US ambassador to South Africa, Bozal III, reportedly told business leaders that the United States is, I quote, losing patience with the ANC government, close quote. And then media outlets claimed that he was backtracking on those comments. So, Andre Farrow, was he backtracking on those comments? Or did the media just report what they wanted to hear? Tell us why. Quick rundown.
So from my side, I haven't seen, these guys would usually put out a statement if they're backtracking, if they've taken anything out of context, they would immediately put something out there and say, listen here, and it would come from the American embassy. It wouldn't come from a news outlet like SABC. It wouldn't. It would come straight from the horse's mouth and state, listen here, we have crossed the line. We do apologize. We will correct these things if correction is needed. But here's something you need to understand. I just realized this morning that we are at war with information. Whatever gets put out on social media, people they have to be critical about what they read. I just noticed a few days ago, this guy was going on about, the US embassy and the statements that he made. And he just read the headline. And he said, you see? And I said, bro, go read the article. Go see what other outlets are saying. Like, do research. Just use common sense and logic and go do something. And this is the problem we have in this country, man. We have the mere fact that the SABC News has roughly around 17 million viewers in this country. And they're just pushing information. And you see headlines going across the screen. And people are making the assumption that is the truth. And that's the problem I have. And that's why you have, Truth Report that's pushing back and going, guys, don't act like a bunch of idiots. Go look up this information. Because the US, they did not, you know what I mean? They did not pull any retractions back. They didn't say, guys, we were out of line. What I find so funny and what I find so strange is this, that Julius Malema has been chanting of killing a specific group of people in this country, white people and farmers in this country. And the Constitutional Court states it as no hate speech. No hate speech. But you know what gets me so irritated, Sama, is that if a white man has to be chanting those things out, almal as dik kwaad, almal as dik bek, everybody screaming, that's racism. And this is the hypocrisy that we live in the world, is that people take SABC as the final truth. No, we all know SABC is controlled by the South African government. We all know that. We all know that they're pushing out their propaganda.
And not to cut you off there, I just want to add this one more question. So with what the US ambassador said, he said kill the boys clearly hate speech. So are you essentially saying you agree with him? Or maybe there was a better way in which he could have delivered it. What do you think overall of the situation? Do you think he was right, and why?
He was right. Like, it's hate speech. In the comment section, let me know. It's hate speech. I agree with him. Stating, like, if you do not see that as hate speech, then I can say, you know what? It's all right if someone calls someone with a K word. Then it's not hate speech, because it was also used in apartheid time. Where's the common sense then? I agree with him. It's hate speech. We can't live this double standard and say, just because I'm colored or black or whatever, I have the right. No, I don't even have the right to use the K word or the N word. Like, I don't. I have common sense to not look at another human being and downgrade them just because of the color of their skin or where they come from. It's not we don't do that. I should love my neighbor. I should care about them. And the mere fact that we're doing this on Truth Report is because we love South Africans. We want South Africans to realize that there's a game being played. And if you believe in what they are pushing towards you, then you are the fool. And we do not want you to be the fool. We want you to actually be a champion. And I agree with him.
For that.
It's hate speech.
Yeah. For sure. Sorry about cutting you off there again. Like, I'm looking at the time, and it's almost like every time I blink, it zooms past for like 5 minutes. So I just want to give everybody a chance on this one as well. A very interesting point mentioned there by Andre Farrell. Tell us if you agree with them in the comment section, ladies and gentlemen. This is your stage as much as it is ours. Kill the Boers clearly hate speech. It calls for the killing of white individuals. And if it was the other way around, people wouldn't be accepting it as much as usual. That was his point. Kuhle Maseko, the Kill the Boer speech has certainly been a topic of discussion recently, right? Not only for the last few years, but recently. Actually, it's been a point of discussion for many years. In fact, Malema was actually in court for such a situation at one stage, but it seems like as a nation, we've tried to dismiss it time and time again. I mean, Ramaphosa was even recently in the Oval Office with Donald Trump, and Donald Trump was calling it out, and even Ramaphosa defended it from his own mouth, saying that, no, it's a struggle song. Kuhle, you are a black South African who is certainly a descendant of those who struggled under apartheid. Is Kill the Boer a struggle song? Tell us, is it a struggle song? Does it matter in 2026? What's going on here?
Well, thank you, Sama. Firstly, to Andre, just wanted to tell you, bro, that, common sense is like deodorant, right? Those that need it the most never use it. But be that as it may, and that's to the ANC, by the way. But be that as it may. Kill the Boer itself, and I think we've gone on and on about this for quite some time. This is not a struggle song. Let's just be clear about it, right? And we need to compare times. The fact that you can tell Afrikaners that no, don't have the old South African flag, that is a crime, right? Because it is a crime according to law. And when EFF says, no, remember, we're remembering our historical days, hence we sing the song. What crap is that? Listen to the double standards. You're telling one group that, F your history. In fact, just keep it there. Keep it there. We don't want to hear it at all. Keep it, you've got a flag, we're going to arrest you. Oh, what did he say about Ter Blanche? We're going to arrest you. You must be racist. That's the problem that we have in South Africa, are these double standards in this country. You've got a tyrant like Malema, is a cult leader, actually. You've got someone like him who tells his folks how high to jump, and they all jump, they all sing the song. I mean, you've got to ask yourself the question, these guys that sing, look at that, what's on the screen now. There are many songs like Dubuli Bunu, which is also one of Malema's favorite songs. ANC has also got their own songs about killing and beating up white people. They exist, and you sort of ask yourself, what level of progressiveness do we have here? Like, these guys, they lack so much intellect that they cannot get their heads out of the past. They cannot simply get their heads out of the past. They behave as if South Africa was the only country to be colonized or the only country to experience a form of apartheid. No, come on. Many countries have, but countries learn to move on because we live in a 21st century democracy where we need to work together. There is no choice here. We've got to work together. I mean, this rubbish that you see of people singing and jumping like popcorns or tennis balls, singing with Brado and all sorts. These guys are unemployed. They're unemployed. And then you're going to go and ask a white man for a job because, tenderpreneurs don't create jobs. The only job a tenderpreneur creates is for you to drive a water tanker. That's the only job you get, is to drive a water tanker because the ANC have buggered up the piping system. But be that as it may, this is the level of stupidity that we have in our country. People sing, they dance along to stupid stuff that they don't understand.
Thanks, man. Thanks for that. Very clearly put there. People in the comment section, tell us if you agree with what was just mentioned. Now we'll move to Martin. Martin, as a member of the Free Market Foundation, as a white South African, as someone of racial minority, and Andre Ferro, this question goes to you as well as a racial minority South African. We'll start with Martin. Give us the three things that made the US lose patience with South Africa. For those who did not see that statement, for those who have no idea about what's going on at home and why on earth would the United States have a problem with South Africa? Could you just give us three things that could make the US have a problem with South Africa, and then we'll move to Andre Ferro?
Yeah, no, I mean, look, it's simple. They don't want us to be their lackey. Can you imagine that? They don't want us to be their foreign policy lackey. They didn't ask us to drop the case against Israel at the ICJ. They've never asked us to do that. They haven't asked us to break our alliances with Russia and China. They have never asked us to do that. These are the things that the Americans asked us. Number one, condemn the singing of Kill the Boer. They didn't say ban it. They did not say ban it. They are free speech absolutists in the United States. They do not want us to ban Kill the Boer. They want the government to condemn the singing of incitement to killing racial minorities. That's number one. Number two, they want the South African government to show that it is not persecuting racial minorities by prioritizing rural violence. Rightly or wrongly, the Americans believe that there is a situation in South Africa where primarily white farmers are being targeted for racial violence because they're rural, they're easy to spot, and there is this idea of the farmer, the exploiter in chief. The Americans think that, rightly or wrongly, it doesn't matter what you think. Farm murders are a problem in South Africa. Whether you think it's racial or not is irrelevant. The Americans want the South African government to show they care, and they want the government to prioritize rural violence. So that's the next thing. That's the second thing. The third thing, very rational from the Americans, is they want American companies to be exempted from broad-based black economic empowerment policies. Americans in the 1980s, under Reagan, they told American companies that do business in South Africa, they said, you should not implement apartheid laws in your companies. We are Americans. We do not discriminate against people based on their race in commerce. That's what the Americans told their companies back then. They are repeating the same call now. They are saying, if you want American business in the Republic of South Africa, they are not going to make decisions based on race. They're going to take merit and how they define merit for themselves. They are going to take merit into account. So that's the third thing, BEE. And then the fourth thing, very important, and this is not the US imposing some specifically American idea on us, but it's an international standard. When property is expropriated, there must always be payment of compensation that is market related. That is what the Americans want. Pay compensation when property is expropriated, exempt American companies from BEE, prioritize rural violence, and condemn the singing of Kill the Boer. And just a final note on that thing, speaking as a racial minority in South Africa. I do not care that Julius Malema hates me. I really couldn't care less. It's even better for me that he says that he hates me and he makes that clear. What is a problem is incitement to violence, which is what Julius Malema is doing. So the Free Market Foundation was in court. We were part of that case as an amicus curiae, a friend of the court, and we went to the Supreme Court of Appeal and said, listen, there's something developing here. We see that political elites, specifically of a specific race, are being allowed to say whatever they want, whereas powerless people, estate agents like Penny Sparrow and Vicky Momberg, completely powerless, irrelevant individuals, are having the law book thrown at them and they are being put in prison. Vicky Momberg spent some time in prison, but powerful people are not. Nothing is happening. So we said that there has to be a consistent application of the hate speech rule. Either we can all say what we want, and like it's in America, we can engage in hate speech, and that's fine, or everyone has to be bound by the same rule. And the court ignored that completely. So what the ambassador said about, I don't care about what your courts say, that is latching onto something very important. That is that our courts are currently contriving situations so that they can come to politically expedient judgments. That is a problem. That is a big problem. I just got my doctorate in law. So I care about the law deeply. I care deeply, and this is a problem. And I'm telling you, the courts, including the Constitutional Court, which just refused to hear the case, they just said, we don't want to hear it. That is wrong. That is a problem. That is misguided. So yes, it's correct that he said we're not going to care about what is said, about what your courts are saying, especially if they behave themselves like this. But just a final point on that. It is not that we at the Free Market Foundation or even AfriForum or anyone else that I know of want Kill the Boer to be banned. No one asked for that. Yes, maybe it is a struggle song, and that's fine. In the appropriate context, you get to say those things, you get to sing those things, but not when you actually mean it as a threat of force. And Julius Malema was interrogated. He was asked under cross-examination in court in front of the judge in the Equality Court, what do you mean when you chant this? And he went into exquisite detail, excruciating detail, about how he means violence. They are a militant revolutionary movement. They will kill when the time comes. These are all his words. And of course, he admitted that he said that they're not calling for genocide now, but he might do it in the future. And the advocate Mark Oppenheimer gave him an opportunity. He said, Mr. Malema, here's your opportunity. Pledge that you will never call for racial violence, ever. And Malema said, I will never pledge that. I might have to call for racial violence in the future. So Julius Malema clarified that he means violence when he says kill the Boer. So he doesn't mean it as a struggle song. He means it as a call to violence. That is the problem. That is the problem right there. And that is what needs to be condemned. And potentially, I would say that is what needs to be banned. We're not allowed to call for violence against each other. No, none of us are allowed to do that. But somehow an exception is made for the politically powerful, specifically if they are of a specific race. That's a problem. And you shouldn't be surprised then if countries like the Americans say, you know, we're not really going to take your courts seriously if they allowed this kind of thing. And yes, the ambassador didn't retract those remarks. And even if he did, he's already said what needed to be said. He can retract them. It's fine. It's out there, and he's right.
So I'll keep it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll keep it sweet and short. So America, of course, with bringing out those 5 points, they just wanted fair and equal game, especially in the South African market. The mere fact that in South Africa we have 600 American companies, there's almost 250 or over 250,000 South Africans employed by these companies. And what he also said was that he doesn't want to, make products in South Africa and then, or make it cheap here in South Africa and then take it, back to America. It's actually South African. And so there's this interest from America as well as from Donald Trump is to say to South Africa, just be neutral on this game front, because you guys are smack bang in the middle of the world. And we know where your location is because you are literally bringing the East and the West together. And so just equal grounds. Let's have a fair game, open up the market, let's compete. And that's what you actually want for an economy. You want economy to boom with an open market. You don't want this group and then it's a monopoly game. And so they just want fair. But for me as a South African, I'm not going to go into me as a colored South African. I'm a South African. For me as a South African, this is how I view it. I agree with employing people with the experience or the qualification. I fully agree with that. BE, as well as in America, Joe Biden was pushing this DEI. So it just shows once again, if you flood the market, if you flood businesses with people that do not have the experience or qualification, those businesses suffer. Those businesses have to take on the consequences of those decisions from the government. And at the end of the day, they're going to find themselves going, you know what, I cannot take this anymore. I'm going to go somewhere else. We have had companies going to Italy. We have had companies going back to America. It's like, we need these companies to flourish in this country. And for me as a South African, I want to see all South Africans flourish. Julius Malema, we all know, he can scream and shout, kill the farmer, kill the Boer. But when it comes to him being in court, he will employ a white man to defend him. So we know for a fact, this guy, man, die man is de mekaar. But at the end of the day, South Africans, we cannot have this double standard. We cannot. It's once again, and that's why I say the ANC, Julius Malema, Cyril Ramaphosa, all these guys, bunch of hypocrites. They play on this woke machine. They play on it in South Africa. And at the end of the day, South Africans fall for it. But people like you and I, and then you're on this panel, we're going, no, guys, have common sense. I grew up with a father that fought in the struggle. I grew up with a father and an uncle that put their bodies on the line so that I can sit here today and talk about the future of this country. I don't bring up apartheid to be, oh, the white man, the white. No, I'm looking at the future. And I have family members that put their lives on the line for this country so that I can sit here and speak the truth and have common sense. My dad always used to say to me, Sama, as a young man, you always used to say to me, have common sense. See the truth. Don't fall for the snake in the grass. And today, I want to say that exact same thing to South Africans. Have common sense. Don't see that. When you see that snake in the grass, call it out. Don't play this game, South Africa. We saw Joe Biden in America act like a puppet. The poor man was on his way to death, and they abused that poor man to push an agenda. And the mere fact that today we see South Africa pushing that exact same agenda, and you're going, what's going on? The West is stronger when we are together. We have to have America as a good friend. We can't support Iran because look at what they're doing to their people. Look at what they're doing to their people. See, South Africans, put it in the comment section. Do you think that that's fair? Do you think that we should support that? Because if you and I support Iran, we are supporting them in their sin. And it's against God. And I'll bring that up on this live. It's against God. You should call out the evil and not stand with it. And at the end of the day, South Africa, we are going to be, if we carry on like this, we are going to be on the wrong side of history once again, where the world's going to look at us and go, yeah, but South Africa, julle was saam in die game. You took Israel to court for what? You haven't touched Israel for what, 20 years? Now all of a sudden, it come with Israel. Leave Israel alone.
For sure.
Side with America.
And now,
let's be great partners.
And now that, we've reached the last few minutes of the live, gentlemen, now the story that should make every single parent in South Africa furious. So everybody watching, listen to this. At a Quds Day celebration, it's a pro-Palestinian anti-Israel rally, by the way. At that rally in Cape Town, children were photographed holding what happened to be replica weapons, dressed in military-style gear, some holding signs with violent rhetoric. Sound familiar? Of course it does. It's called the Taliban, but that's another story for another day. Children, not teenagers, children. We need to talk about this because this is where the Truth Report draws a hard line when the children are involved. Now, Kuhle Maseko, children holding weapons, even as toy weapons in public at a political rally. Remember Malema saying, but it was just a toy gun. And then they realized it wasn't a toy gun. Now it's children holding toy weapons at a political rally. Defend that or go against it. How is it acceptable?
Well, Sama, you're right. It's not acceptable at all. I mean, it's bonkers to see kids. Look at them. They are being indoctrinated from a very young age, holding whether it's toy rifles or real rifles. This is just indoctrination. It's the same type of indoctrination that you see in Palestine when the kids, as young as 5 years old, the first thing that they learn to read is I hate Israel. That's the first thing kids in Palestine learn to read. And death to America, those are the first few lines. And this is equivalent to that. This goes and shows that when we come out and people call us Islamophobic or whatever phobic, like Andre said, because there's a phobic for everything except for common sense. When we come out, this is what we are trying to stop. This is what we don't want to get to. I did mention that the country is getting to a stage where the ANC is pushing for the Islamification of the state. And it is evident. This is in South Africa. Look at them. Look at what they are wearing. This is not, and I need to be very clear with people. South Africa has had Muslim people for many years, right? For many, many years. We've lived side by side with Muslim people for many years, and they are South African. But none of them, and I'm talking about South African Muslims, none of them will you see or should be carrying flags of Hezbollah. None of them are dressed like some Taliban leader. None of them are dressed like some Hamas soldier. Because that is a terrorist regime. That is a terrorist, that is the dangerous side of Islam. That is the side that South Africa has never had. Hence, I want to highlight, we're not Islamophobic here. We are against such where kids are taught to be doing such. So I'm completely against it, Summer, in the short and long of it. I could go on for days, but we have to wrap up the show at the time.
Thanks, brother. Thanks for understanding. But I think you summed it up quite good over there. When you bring children into this with the Hezbollah flags and so forth, it's certainly something worth considering. Now, Martin van Staden, if this was a right-wing ally with white children holding guns, would we be screaming child abuse? Why is it different when it's a pro-Palestine rally? Why are we so silent about it when we got kids playing with toy guns saying free Palestine? But we wouldn't be silent about it if it was young Jewish children with guns in the air saying no, death to Palestine and death to everybody else that's against Israel and the US. Is there a double standard we are not seeing here? And if there is, what on earth is supposed to be done about this?
Yeah, look, there's obviously a double standard, but I do think an important nuance here, at least from my side, is that I am radically pro-gun. Like, I am very, very in favor of firearm rights for ordinary civilians, and that includes these individuals here. I think children being exposed to firearms creates a safer society than them accidentally finding one and shooting someone. But the context is important. The politicized context is important. And what they're portraying here is not children kind of like the old Boers having long guns, kind of hunting for their family. These are people who they're very much creating the impression that they're going to be hunting Zionists. And you see some of the banners that they had, they're kind of calling the Israeli flag, saying it's racist, which is not true. I mean, I've been there. That's simply not the case. So this is very much Donald Trump and various other people in jumpsuits. So that context is always important. If you're militarizing children, essentially militarizing children, that's the issue. That's the issue, because you're creating the impression, as Kuhle said, about kind of the Palestinian textbooks and so on. And this is found all around the Islamic world, kind of militarizing children, making militant activists out of them to go and kill Jews, kill Americans at some point. That's an issue. But if this was just a pro-Palestine rally, they said we believe in self-defense, we're kind of a pro-firearm group, and we believe in peaceful coexistence between Israelis and Palestinians, that would, for me, that would change things, and that would be the same for a right-wing rally, a pro-Israel rally. Exposing children to firearms to me is fine, but you cannot militarize them. You cannot be raising them to at some point become soldiers for what I think is a very evil cause that wants to subjugate people to your Islamic kind of totalitarian vision of the future. So that's just my nuance. I think there is a problem here, and certainly there is a double standard, because no one else would be allowed to do this.
Andre Farrell, in a few words, what can you say is the way South Africa can move forward from seeing what we're seeing here? How on earth can South Africa move from kids holding guns saying free Palestine to a better South Africa, where we consider each and everyone's opinion, we improve our diplomatic ties with nations like the US, and we move forward as a nation as a whole? In a few words, in what way can we do this?
Okay, so it's very simple. Firstly, as a father of children, I will never do this to my kids. Never. When the peace treaty with Israel and Palestine happened, none of them were out in the streets celebrating. So firstly, number one, all of this is just to show is in a bunch of hypocrites. This is full nonsense. None of them celebrated. None of them came to the streets cheering it on. None of them. So this is all just to show. So as a father, I'll never do this. The way we get to fix this country, firstly, is to solve our issues in our backyard, our problems. Let go of Iran. Iran must deal with Iran stuff. Let go of it, South African, ANC and the government. Let go of it. Condone them. Say that's not right. We are going to stand on our own. South Africa needs to stand on its own. South Africa needs to be a fair and free and open market. South Africa can't have this thing of siding with dictators, but the country that actually wants to pour resources in, we want to be like, no, thank you, because that is coming straight into our pockets. This is not going to go straight to our pockets. So firstly, solve the issues in this country. I grew up where my dad said the only way people will take you serious is if you go make up your bed every day, clean your room, so that when they look at the state of your place, they cannot point a finger back at you. And at the end of the day, South Africa needs to clean up what's happening in our own backyard. The crime, unemployment rate, GBV, to see that South African government is so strong with protecting women. They need to sort that issue out. They need to sort that criminal acts out. The mere fact that we have such a high rate of fatherless homes in this country, we need to solve those things. So South Africa has to clean up its own backyard first. We should not be worried about what's happening all over the world. We should be focusing on this country. South Africa first. Yeah. And that's how we do. Because at the end of the day, when we go out onto the international platforms, nobody can point a finger back at us and go, yeah, but South Africa. We can actually stand on solid ground going, guys, this is not right, and this is wrong. So we have to clean up first here in South Africa. The unemployment rate is shocking. The mere fact that people are living under literally on the borderline of the poverty line. It's shocking. It's shocking. South Africa is not in a good state. And so from my side, I would say clean up first your backyard, South Africa. Don't condone those things that are happening in Iran. Condone it. Say, guys, we do not agree with these things. Running Palestine's propaganda in this country and doing that to children, you must be a sick individual to do that. There's something perverted and dangerous in your mindset to think that is okay. That's not okay. A parent that loves their children will never do that to their children. Never. As a parent that loves his children, I'll never do that to my children. I'll never let them go out into the street and look like a bunch of idiots. Never. And if
Great
I am
points.
a parent,
Now we'll actually have to. Yeah.
Oh, but sorry,
Sorry
Sam. I just
about
want to
that.
close off.
Close off. Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I'll just close off. If I was a parent and I saw my teenager doing that, I man kry 'n pak slaag voor al sy vriende, because that's not what we're raising. We're raising up citizens in this country that respect one another, love one another. That's what we're raising up in this country, where we have dignity for one another. And so to end it off with, that is a bunch of hypocrites. When the celebration should have happened, they didn't show. So this is just a propaganda. It's just a message that they're pushing out.
Thanks very much, Andre. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time we have for today. But I know we went way past the time we usually finish our live streams, but I have to ask this question. I have to. Quick yes, no question, ladies, gentlemen, who have joined me in this panel. We'll start with you, Martin van Staden. It's okay even if you're not a fan of the sport. Is Arsenal winning the league this season? Yes, no?
Oh, geez, I don't know.
Okay, that's no problem. Kuhle Maseko, is Arsenal winning the league this season? Yes, no?
Wow, Sama, you're asking me I've got a similar answer, but I'm looking at the table and it looks like Arsenal is winning for the first time in many years. 70 points and 7 matches remaining. The distance between them and second place Man City is 9 points. So it does look possible, but Arsenal does suffer from the curse of the last few games. But I'm an optimist. I think they could.
Andre Farrow, who's winning this league? Is Arsenal finally going to make it, or will they fall short again? Yes, no?
You know what? I think Arsenal has learned their lessons through the years. And so all they need to do is just push through, because 7 games left. anything can happen. Anything can happen. And so from my side, I hope Arsenal wins. It would be sweet, man. Guys, give it to them. It would be sweet if Arsenal finally wins, have a trophy in their cabinet and looking so beautiful. So for me, I would love for Arsenal to win, but hey, I'm a Spanish guy. I love Barcelona. So I'm happy where I'm at right now. But Arsenal, keep going. It would be awesome if Arsenal win finally. Shame, I mean, so young. Shame, guys. I feel sorry for them.
Yeah, guys, we need to pray. We need to pray for the Arsenal fans watching there. Pray they win. Because one day, Man City can do something and then everyone's crying again. But to my panel, thank you all for not holding back. To the viewers, you know where we stand, but we want to know where you stand. Drop your comments. Tell us if we're wrong. Tell us if the panel is wrong. Let's keep this conversation going. Ladies and gentlemen, Puhle Maseko, Andre Ferro, Martin van Staden, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day. God bless.
This is the Truth Report. I'm the Summer Sambit. And from us, we will all see you next time.